Hello, Meisner makers. Welcome to Wednesday's workshops at 1. My name is Dara Dubois, and I am going to be teaching a class today on making the Kimberbell Hoppy bunny ear cinch sack. Look at how cute those are. It comes in 2 sizes. I was going to teach this class last year in March and again this year, and we haven't had the chance to do that, so I'm going to do the class for you today. Kits will be available, and you can get those by emailing info@meisnersewing.com. Today, what we're going to do, you need 2 pieces of colorful fabric. This is what most of the kits are, and a piece of lining that will be the bunny ears. And you will need 2 12-inch pieces of ribbon. So I have white grosgrain ribbon here, so we'll be using that. You need a no-show mesh or a cutaway stabilizer. I prefer to use no-show mesh when I am doing anything where it's going to stay in the bag because it washes nicely, it doesn't shrink. I've had no problems, so I really like the no-show mesh. Along with that, you will need a point turner. So we have the R&K Perfect Point Turner. You'll also either need a bodkin or a safety pin to run your strings through. I couldn't find my bodkin today, so we're going to use a safety pin. You'll need a seam ripper to rip out some of the basting stitches. And I like to use, these are called, I'm not sure, Oh So Organized, and they come in 2 different sizes. Little small one is the one I have right here in front with all my sewing supplies with me, and they have a larger one as well. I have that sitting next to my sewing machine at home. I like that because it holds my tools close and handy. That is my travel size for when I am out and about and doing my sewing on the go. So let's get started. For this, you need a 5x7 hoop for the larger one. You could use the 4x4 hoop for the smaller one. So let's get started on making our project. Today I'm using the Brother NQ3600D. I've got the USB stick on the side, and I'm ready to download the design for those of you that are new to embroidery or just need a refresher. So the Trident over here is where I plugged in my USB. This one I'm going to the dealer exclusive, picking it and selecting the file. And I'm looking for So Hoppy bunny ears. And this one requires a PES design, so I'm picking the PES. There's 2 different designs. One is the larger, and the larger one will almost always be first. And then the second one is the smaller one. We're going to do the larger design today. We're going to set it, and then we're going to end edit. And then embroidery, and we are ready to go. So I currently have white thread on top to do the beginning set of the design. Up here, it is showing me what step I am on in any particular step. This is the overall design of what we are doing. At the top here, it's also telling us that there are 14 stitches. We are at 0. It says it's going to take us 7 minutes. That's a lie. If you've been in any of my classes, if you double or triple that, that's about how long it takes because this is stitch time only. It doesn't account for all of the other work that we need to do, the thread changes, adding fabric, adding tape, whatever the case may be. And there are 11 steps to this design. So we're ready to go. First thing it's going to do is it's going to do a placement stitch. So I'm going to lower the presser foot. And it's going to do that stitch. Okay, so now we're going to take the hoop out of the machine, and we are going to cut right on this line right here. Scissors out. You want to go a little bit further than the line, and we are literally just cutting straight on that line. Okay, so we've just cut out the line, and now we're going to do a placement stitch for our fabric. Now we're ready to put our fabric down. I'm going to put right sides up, but first I'm going to fold it in half so that I have my fold line that I can put directly at the cut line. And we want to cover our placement line. Pull it up there. We're going to put tape in the corners to hold that down. It's going to do a placement line. Tack down line. Hold that very tight. Now it's doing a basting stitch across the top here that we will take out in just a few minutes with our seam ripper. Now we're going to change our thread color. We're ready to do the face of the little bunny, so we are going to change our thread color. I'm going to go to black. I'm going to flip my thread up top, pull it out down here at the bottom. Is not in the right spot. Of course it's not. So anytime I change the thread, it's a good practice to do needle up, needle down before you do it so that your needle is in the right spot. There we go. Okay, so now we are ready to stitch out step number 4, which is the bunny face stitches. So after it stitches this last one, we're going to change to pink for the nose. foot down. Let's go for the nose. Now I'm going to change to white thread to make the holes for the ribbon to go through, and finish the rest of the project in the white thread. Work. There we go. So it's going to make little buttonholes in the back here for our ribbons to go through. After that, we'll take it off. We'll use the seam ripper to cut them open and take out our basting stitch. I really enjoy buttonholes on the sewing machine because it does all the work. I don't have to change my stitch length and width or figure anything out. I just let them go. At this point, we're going to take the hoop out. Do not take the project out of the hoop. And all we're going to do is we're going to open up the buttonholes. So I'm using my seam ripper. If I was worried about cutting through the stitches, you can place a straight pin across the stitches there so that you don't cut into them. So I'm just carefully going to come up the middle, right up to those stitches on both sides, cutting all the way through the stabilizer and the fabric. And you want to do that at this point because if you wait until later, it's not going to be pretty. Then we need to take our basting stitch out. And remember that hole we had earlier? Now it's going to come into play. So what we're going to do now, put everything back together here, is now we're going to push our fabric through that hole. Can you hold it up a little? So we push the fabric through the hole right here. We're going to tape it on the back side. Take my two corners. And check the directions. Make sure I don't miss it. I think I need to put, nope. Okay. So now we're going to put it back in. Now notice your hole is still open right here. In a minute we're going to tape that down or shut just so it's not in the way. But for what we're doing now, we're just going to put it back in. Lower the presser foot. And it's going to tack that back piece to the front. So now we're going to tape that opening, and I'm going to pull it as close to the fabric as I can. Pull it out a little bit so I can see it better. And basically what we want to do is we're going to kind of close that whole opening there. Put the tape right above those lines. And what it's going to do now is it's going to do the casing for the ribbon on the front part here. So I've got my tape there, and we're ready to rock and roll here. And if it goes over the tape, it's not a big deal. This is Kimberbell tape. It's one of my favorites, and it will tear out nicely out of the stitches. So now we're going to remove the tape. Remember I said it just tears right off of there. I'm going to save that piece for later. And we've got a little bit of tape on the bottom of those stitches. Very little bit. And it just tears right out. Okay, now it's going to do a reference line at the top. So we're just going to let that go. Okay, so now we're going to take the hoop out. So now you can see that it has done the casing line across top and bottom here. Your project should look like this on the back. I'm going to go ahead and trim those excess threads. Not that you have to do it. So it looks like this now. Now what we're going to do is we are going to put the fabric number 1 through the hole. Straighten it out. And now we want to bring it to the back side of the hoop. So your back side of the hoop has right sides facing you right now. Now we are going to add our lining fabric. Decide which one's the right side. Put right sides together, face down on the back side of the hoop. I'm going to tape this in place. This is a must. I don't always like to use tape, but if you do not tape down your 4 corners, I guarantee I would have a Dunlap. So you've got the corners taped, and you're ready to do your last stitch. So I'm going to put it back in the hoop. One last thing before we start that, I am going to place a piece of tape across the opening on the front here, because where it sews across, I don't want the foot to catch underneath the hoop. So now we're ready to go, and it is going to stitch our final stitch for the design. Okay, we're finished embroidering. Now let's take it out of the hoop and take the tape off, and then we'll take the project out of the hoop. Again, the tape just comes away from those stitches. The rest will cut out when we do the rest. Okay, so out of the hoop, we're going to trim. Okay, now we're going to trim. Here is the opening for turning. So what I want to do is I want to cut about a 1/2 inch longer here. On the sides all the way around, we'll do 1/4 inch. If I was at the cut table, I'd be using the rotary cutter because it goes way faster. And then powder. And then powder. And then powder. And then about a 1/4 inch on the sides. Or whatever I end up with. Don't cut through the stitches. And then what I like to do at the end here, where it's the opening is, trim it. And then off to 1/4 or thereabouts. You want to clip around your edges as you would any corner that you're doing so that it will make more of a rounded edge. Again, don't clip through your stitches. Trim that a little bit more right there because I want those to be round. Just have to do where the rounded part is. Okay, so we got those trimmed. Now we're ready to turn it inside out. So you have an opening here. A lot of times I will trim off my excess pieces because I don't really care about those. Those just add bulk on the inside, so I'll trim those off. Notice I have left my 2 pieces that I need to have here. So I will look for a bunny ear, turn an ear, grab the other ear, poke it all the way through, and there's our bag turned most of the way. We still have one more turn to go, but before we get there, we need to poke out our bunny ears. So just run my R&K Perfect turning tool. It looks like this, flat on the side so it doesn't roll. I love that. Just kind of turning, poking out the edges. I want to make sure all my Sides are done. You need to make sure your corners are corners at this point, because when you do the final turn, you don't have that option. So here's my other ear. Afraid to say anything for fear of doing what I normally do, which is what I tell you not to do, which is poke things out. So just very carefully go across the edges, down the sides, do my corners. Okay, so we've got it this way. So you still don't see the bunny face, it's on the inside here. So we've got to turn these. Normally I would iron them. This is where steam-a-seam comes in real handy. Something similar to that. Oops. Of course it didn't do what I wanted it to do. Nope. That's not going to work. Okay, normally I would do steam-a-seam in here or something to hold it tight. And then we're ready to turn. If you don't seam up that, either by whip stitching it together or with steam-a-seam or something that will shut it, it will become your forever hidey hole because things will go up inside it and get stuck. So see how I'm trying to make sure those corners are nice and tight. And here is your little bunny cinch sack. You can iron it out. Now, we're going to put the ribbon through. There's a special way to do it so that it actually becomes a cinch sack. So the way to do that is I've got my 2 pieces of about 12-inch ribbon, both attached to one safety pin. I'm going to run it through both of them at the same time, through the opening. I know I had an opening here. Now, how many times have any of you thought you were creating a cinch sack, but it did not do its drawstring motion? Been there, done that. So this is the way that will work every time to cinch that little sack up. Just draw my ribbons through. If you had a bodkin, you could use a bodkin, but the safety pin works fine. Now I'm going to unpin the pin from the both. What I want to do is I want to make one long edge and one short edge on each side. So I'm going to pull one to make it a shorter edge over here. So notice I've got 2, I don't know if you can see the 2 long edges, and you've got 2 short edges. So now I'm going to put the safety pin through one of those long edges, and I'm going to take it through the back side. Now on the back side we don't have a casing, but we have a spot for it to go through right here where it left that little opening in it. You can't really see it, it's right behind your bar tack. So we're just going to run that pin through all the way to the other side and out that other hole. And get it over the seam. And there's my pin coming out that side. Okay, so now I've got 1 over here and 3 over here. So now I'm going to unconnect it. I'm going to pick the long edge, put my safety pin in, and I'm going to run it through the back side as well to give me my 2 strings on each side. Just want to take it out this hole over here. There's my safety pin. So now I've got 2 strings on each side. I'm going to unpin, pull my strings together. I'm going to tie a knot. Oh, bandage is getting in the way. I got a knot there. I'm going to knot this side. And now you have a little bunny cinch sack ready to fill with candies, money, cute little candy bottles. Back in the day, we used to have the little Coca-Cola bottles and things within it, so you can fill that up with little Easter treats, and you're ready for Easter. Thank you, Meisner Makers, for joining us for Workshop Wednesday at 1. If you wanted to personalize your little bunny cinch sack, you can put a name down at the bottom. You could put it at the top. Anything that you want to do, fill it with the candies or anything that you choose. If you have any questions during the workshop, please put them in the chat line, and we will be happy to answer them. I try to join that chat when I know that things are going on. And for any other questions, please email info@meisnersewing.com. Thank you very much, and have a great day, and have a very happy Easter.